There we go. We are recording.
So maybe let me start. I will give a brief introduction about myself. My name is Aliya Sembayeva. I did my PhD in chemistry at the University of Liverpool and my master at the University of Birmingham, where I met actually Ivan. And then when I started my PhD, myself, Ivan, Muhit, Saule, we founded our Kazakhstan PhD Association in the UK. So I'm very happy to see my colleagues here today. After my graduation, after my PhD graduation, I came back to Kazakhstan. I started to work at Samruk-Kazyna National Sovereign Fund as a head of research and innovation department, where actually we opened a new company responsible for science and innovation. And then I moved to the Science Fund. I'm working as a deputy chairperson. So the Science Fund is a national operator for research commercialization in Kazakhstan. We provide grants similar to NSF grants for commercialization, like how it's called, and SBIR, STTR, I think. So they are similar to our system. And last year, actually, we were in the US and met with the National Science Fund in the US, as well as I think we met with Zhenesbek in Washington. And let me also congratulate once again Murat for being selected as a member of Young Researchers Council at the ministry. I think you can make a really great impact to research system in Kazakhstan by collaborating with the ministry, because when we did our PhD degree in the UK, we also were the members of the first this council under the ministry, and a lot of work was done. I think Ivan can share about this impact. So let me stop here, and if you have any questions, I'm here. Let me also maybe mention that we are working together with Ivan in the Science Fund on research project. So it's a specific project called Program Targeted Financing Program, responsible for developing research mechanisms in Kazakhstan. So this project is for 3 years, where I think your experience, your knowledge can also be useful for us. Thank you.
Great, and we'll definitely have questions. So as we were talking about the Science Fund, it probably makes sense to pass it on to Ivan, because he's a colleague of Aliya and sounds like working on the same things.
Okay, thank you very much, Aniar. I'm Ivan Trusov. I have graduated at University of Birmingham on chemistry in specifics in crystallography. I do material science, work on batteries mostly, but the field varies depending really on what institution I work with. I work with Kazakh National University. I work with Skolkovo Institute of Science and Technology, where we do, let's say, chemistry scientific work. Here in Science Fund, I do work in project related to the issue Aliya just mentioned. It's studying how the commercialization of research system works in Kazakhstan, because there are many problems, and by some reasons, the amount of money we put into the system in country don't give too much of output, and we don't really know why, because there are money and there is not much results. What's going on? Why is it wrong? For example, if we consider United States, there it is about 10 to 20% of successful projects when they are funded on, let's say, on the rather high developed level. Instead, in Kazakhstan, when we consider these numbers, it's only about 1-2% of success projects. And we don't really know why, because more or less everything is the same. But what we are doing wrong, we are trying to find out it. Currently, I am acting as a president of Kazakhstan PhD Association in the United Kingdom. We're working with you. As far as I remember, we've been contacting you with on the matter of introducing of new committee of young researchers in Kazakhstan. This new committee was just yesterday announced. It started to work. As far as I know, some of you are in this committee, and I'm really happy for that. And I wish you good luck. And if you got any questions on the matter how this committee works or how science works in Kazakhstan, or let's say different random issues which are under the carpet, I'll be happy to share.
Great. Thank you, Ivan. And as I said, we'll definitely have questions. But for now, I'll pass it on to Saule.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me for this session. Nice to see familiar faces and not familiar too. My name is Aliya. I'm yes, as you mentioned, currently I'm the Dean of the International School of Economics. It's the name of the faculty at, now we are Narikbayev University, former KazGUU. And yeah, I'm the right person to ask questions about academia because I used to work in different institutions in Kazakhstan almost all my life. What else? I did my PhD in economics at Newcastle University in UK, and my specialization is labor economics. And I just realized that I think a couple, maybe 3 years ago, Aliya, you asked me, because you just mentioned that you're an economist, and I've got, okay, that's the guy who asked me something about the survey or something. So yeah, small world. So yeah, nice to be here, and thank you. If you have questions about probably working at the university and obstacles and the stuff, I'm happy to.
Thank you, Saule. I was the one who was contacting you a few years ago about expertise in health economics and whether we have people working in that area. Anyway, so we do have questions that we prepared as committee, but if any of the attendees have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat, and I'll try to moderate as best as I can. But for now, I'll start with a general question, right? So you've been working in the Kazakhstani system for a while now. I know, Saule, you actually worked in Kazakhstani academia before you did your PhD, and then Aliya and Ivan, you've been part of the system for a while now. So what positive changes have you seen in Kazakhstan's academic and scientific spheres in recent years? We hear that there are a lot of things going on, a lot of changes happening, but we're not sure if those are positive things or negative things. So basically the question is, what are the positives happening in those spheres in Kazakhstan? And also where there is still room for improvement, because you've seen the system outside of Kazakhstan, so you can do the comparisons, and you can tell us, what's different, what's good, what's bad. So basically, this kind of generic question, and it might take you, an hour to answer this question. But I would like to point out that we have many more questions and more coming in the chat. So let's try to keep it maybe like 2-3 minutes per question. And like if you go a little, more than that, that's all right. But I want to keep it short and concise.
And yeah, this way I would like to ask you to ask you smaller questions then, if you want shorter answers.
Yeah, as I said, so it's a general question that we're starting with, but we'll definitely have more specific questions later on.
Maybe I can start. Well, I'm not sure about, I'm not really in a position to talk about research and the changes in, in that, but I can talk about academia and the culture in general, regulations and the stuff. And if you look at that, indeed, there are many changes, positive changes over the last years. I would say maybe last 10 years or something like that. And to me, as the person who is responsible for, administrative, so holds an administrative position at the university, we do see that. We have much less regulation nowadays. We have much more freedom. Well, that's not necessarily academic freedom, but at least it is, freedom to the universities to hire people, to have their own policies and many other things. But I think the biggest challenge is still people. And Ivan said that we don't know what's going on, why the, this all funding allocated to research is not effective. I don't really think that funding is still enough. But I think the biggest problem, well, it's just my guess, but I think that the biggest problem is probably, again, the same people. So, get right people on the bus, and in academia overall in Kazakhstan, quality of staff, teaching staff, research staff is still very, very poor. So we need you guys to return back and to hold this position at the universities. Because if you look at the average university in Kazakhstan, the quality of teaching, quality of research, quality of everything is really very poor. Partially due to funding, but partially due to the fact that there is a huge shortage of enough qualified people. So that's, long story short. Basically, we do have positive changes, but the obstacle, I think, is the resources, mostly human resources too, in the first place.
So, and I appreciate your answer as someone who is working in the academia, in the administration of a big university, but also as a labor economist who does research in that field. So
yeah, maybe I'm a bit biased, but yeah, that's not.
I don't think you're biased. I think you have the exact evidence and expertise, to tell this kind of truth. But for now, I'll pass it on to Aliya to try to answer this big question.
Yes, let me start, and then I think Ivan can continue. So the positive news is that science is developing in Kazakhstan and quite quickly developing. So in terms of funding, we have a good funding, but as Saule mentioned, we need more people, we need to have more researchers, we need to continue to develop our infrastructure, we need to work on mechanisms, on the development of mechanisms, on different tools, including financial, non-financial tools. That's why, like we as the Science Fund, we're currently working on this specific research project. And as someone mentioned in the chat, what is effective commercialization or effective output of commercialization? So we are trying to find these answers during our research projects. And also, as Saule mentioned, we need more researchers from especially abroad universities to bring this critical mass of researchers to Kazakhstan, to have more quality in terms of projects, in terms of programs, etc., etc. Unfortunately, I need to leave. I will stop here and give the floor to Ivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Aliya, for making it at least for about 20 minutes. It was a pleasure to meet you. And I guess if people want to follow up, they can do so. They can find you on Facebook, LinkedIn, and your profile is available on the Science Fund website as well. Thank you, Aliya. Ivan, floor is yours.
Okay. How to start? Well, when we speak about positive improvements in science of Kazakhstan, I would say there is a really huge rise of the funding, really, it is. And just yesterday I had this talk on the science summit for young researchers, and I was giving a little bit of statistics. For example, currently, if we consider all the funding of Kazakhstan, it is considered to be 0.18% of GDP. If we consider the whole funding and the amount of funding which comes per a researcher in the country on parity of buying ability, don't really know how it's called in English, no idea, maybe Saule will correct me. Well, the point is currently we have about $47,000 per researcher in the country. If we consider Russia, it used to be around $90,000 in 2016. if we consider United States or Japan or China, we're getting closer to 200 to 300s. So at some point we can say like there is still not enough funding. However, the rise is huge. It's nearly 0.5% over the last year. And another issue which is actually, boosting up these numbers is the amount of researchers. Officially, we had last year only 22,000 of researchers. This year, ministry says it's 25,000 of researchers. I don't really know where these numbers are coming from. I would agree that we have actually somewhere about 3,000 of researchers who are actually working and do produce good science and which can be respected in the international level. Therefore, when you consider 0.17% of GDP coming down to 3,000 of researchers, I would say that's a huge numbers to study. And therefore, I would say currently that's, let's say, good researcher right now almost have no issues to get funding from ministry. It's rather simple because the quality of research proposals which are submitted for grant fundings is usually really bad. And if you have nice experience, if you know how to write and if you know how to prepare, you can get money rather easy. Another point is, which I think we can actually proudly brag of, is our research distribution system and funding distribution system is extremely transparent considering the world. Maybe it's not always, let's say, fair, and maybe it's not always completely clear, crystal clear, because our people are inventive. I would say it such way. However, we know what points and what parts of our research proposals are considered, how they are evaluated. All the processes are online. There are open documents. National science committees who are deciding who is going to get the funding at the end. Their panels are recorded and everything is on YouTube. So basically, if you don't like something, you may take a look at this record and see and try to find out what was going on. And if you don't like something, if you think that they've done something wrong, something illegal or etc., you are officially allowed to apply for appellation. How it's called? You can raise an appeal on the committee, and it will decide was it legal or was it illegal, and if you can continue or if you can get the funding. And this is all online, and far not many countries can say that they have even something similar to that. For example, if we consider Europe or UK or United States, usually everything is decided in a really closed manner, and it's really difficult to understand why it was decided to do this project or that project, especially considering that they all are rather good. And here we have rankings. Not everybody likes it. It has some downsides. However, so far it works, and I would say it works the best way it can. So therefore, let's say today, I can honestly say that if you got a good project, you're gonna get money in Kazakhstan.
Sorry, can I interrupt and ask question right now? So I have some like very direct question regarding the statement that Ivan made.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the thing is that I don't want to refer to other people or kind of like sharing gossips. I can only judge from my own actions. So I mean, the statement you made is quite optimistic. I don't want to be like pessimistic and say something against or something wrong, but I can only judge again the activities that I did. So recently, I, as a PI of a project and also employee of the KazGUU Research Institute, submitted a grant application. Honestly, not hoping or expecting something positive, but I thought there are some projects that we can run in Kazakhstan. They are quite competitive. I don't want to go into details, but if you want, then I can share. The thing is that I submitted. It's quite convenient. And then they sent me back and said, it needs some corrections. I mean, obviously, maybe I missed some points. And then I made that corrections within the time frame they gave. Usually it's 3 days, within 72 hours. And then after that, it's still there. My application was submitted in December or somewhere, the latest grant application for this science fund. And then at the outcome that they gave me recently, they said that your project was in under correction and they didn't return back. And then I immediately emailed the organization who is receiving this application and everything. I didn't get any feedback from that. So do you think there is a lack of communication? I don't want to take any action before I get any reply. So I don't want to be the one, okay, I know you, so you can solve my issue. Maybe this is something happening with other people. I can only speculate on that topic. So there might be some communication issue or technical issue that making unequal condition for the applicants.
Mm-hmm.
Let
Okay.
me also add to
Okay,
this,
please, Saule.
Yeah, thank you. I would also say that, well, I mean, I want to add a fly to the ointment, yeah, because my personal experience a year ago and a very recent experience of one of my colleagues who applied to the, what's the name of this grant funding for young, like young researchers or something. Jasralim, I think. Yes, and he just a couple of days ago he got the refusal based on the consideration by 3 experts, where 2 of them wrote in English, and I guess were sort of international experts, gave pretty good, feedback and positive feedback. And the other one who wrote his feedback in Russian was not, well, it was. So I cannot judge myself because that's political science, but he said it's the person was very incompetent and the comments were completely, were poor and so on. And I also had the same experience with the grant application last year. And the story was actually very sad because my project was language economics, what we call language economics, and the language, the word language, like Kazakh language or something, was in the title of the project. And then, despite I've got very good comments from all three experts, including the local one, so for some reason the NNS, yeah, so the person who looked at the project at NNS, and my first disappointment was that this NNS for social sciences, it basically included everything, including languages, philology, and I don't know, history, and so many different things. And I haven't seen any, economists out there. But they classified the project because of this word Kazakh language or something, because it was like economic returns to language skills. They classified it as philology, and the person who looked at that was someone with the background in philology, and she said, well, the project is economics, but I don't think it's economics. She's the candidate of science and philology, and she said that it's not economics. So, I mean, I didn't even want to appeal. And in case of my colleague, he found out that there is no way to appeal before NNS. So I don't really, well, I mean, where is all this money and positive changes you're talking about? Why don't we see them being the, people who are trying to get this funding from the government? But at the same time, what I noticed that very poor quality projects, really very poor quality projects.
Yeah, and Ivan, don't get me wrong, it is
economics were given this funding. So I don't really think that it works. I still believe that, I mean, I don't really think it's corruption, but so you need to know people probably at NNS and the stuff like that, because they've been so sort of know each other. So I was really disappointed with this consideration, and even it's available in YouTube. It didn't help me at all. So I don't really think that it works that good as Ivan unfortunately, sorry, Ivan is describing the process now. But hopefully this will change. Maybe we still hope
exactly. Exactly. Saule said she was disappointed, and this is not my first issue that I had this year. I had this 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, just before moving to Hong Kong. I returned back from UK. In the case of Saule or Saule student, they gave a justification, at least some justification, moral, immoral, or correct, incorrect. This is another thing, but they got the justification of negative result. In my first case, 2.5 years ago, they didn't even explain why I was rejected, and then that was my kind of like for me like a decision-making point. After being disappointed, I decided, okay, maybe this is not the ideal time to stay around because I want to survive. I want to do projects. I want to complete my objectives. And then, I mean, why I'm sharing here? I'm sure this KAPNA has PhD students of in the North America, and they might consider to come back to Kazakhstan. And you have to know the reality. It's not that optimistic, and you have to be ready at least for this kind of. If you want to fight, perfect. Please fight and then improve the situation. Otherwise, sometimes your goal might need to be completed now. For example, I cannot wait and then apply again, because I won many different grants in Hong Kong, in American foundations in other countries, and the same application was earlier submitted in Kazakhstan, and they were rejected. I didn't understand. I was just copying and pasting the English translation of the grant application. Sometimes it is kind of like, maybe I'm not competitive enough for Kazakhstan system. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, there must be some specifics, and let's pass it on to Ivan to answer some of these, to address some of these concerns. And it sounds like, the question was, what are the positives and negatives? And I think in a way we answered the question by having, different perspectives. And now we just pass it back to Ivan to kind of respond to those concerns because he is there in the system. And then we can move on to other questions.
Okay, I have to write it down, otherwise there was too many problems. Okay, the first point is, yes, this is true, there are some problems. Especially there are problems with the appeal, and really the first appeal only comes from after the National Scientific Committee releases the decision. This is true, but I have to tell you that this appealing committee is really new. It started, as far as I remember, only last year. The year before there was no appealing committee at all. So the system is developing now. At least you have a ability to appeal on some decisions. I think the next step will be the appeal on the decision of experts and the formal expertise, because there are many gateways which you have to pass with the grant proposal, as your application, and you have to pass all of them. The first one is the formal expertise, where you have to be able to comply with all the requirements of basically paperwork. Everything should be there, like different agreements or whatever, all the paperwork which you want to be in there. It's slightly simpler with the grant funding, and it's slightly more difficult to get in the commercialization grants, because there are more paperwork needs to be done correctly with all the businesses and etc. There are really strong responsibility from business as well, and the money is slightly larger, therefore the requirements are stronger. And then I suppose there will be appealing committee on the experts' decisions, because it's not the new problem. It was there for years, I would say. Usually when we are in such situation, when two experts are giving positive feedback and the other, normally it's Kazakhstan expert who gives negative feedback, this is the problem, really. To be fair, we have an opposite situation as well, when foreigners give very negative feedback and saying that this project is basically bullshit. However, Kazakhstan expert, which is apparently some friend of the person who applies for it, says, oh, such a wonderful project, you need to fund it, and he gives really high marks for this project. Yes, it exists. However, normally,
And can I ask a question? Sorry for interrupting you. And what happens then if the feedback from the foreigners are sort of good? And so in this situation, in this specific case, what was the result?
okay, well, so far nothing happens in both cases. Why? Because there is no mechanism so far to appeal on that. And however, we are getting there.
But the
However,
project is rejected if there is one negative feedback, or because we
not
don't know how
necessary.
it works, you know. For
Not
example,
necessary.
my colleague, he didn't know even what was the reason of this rejection, because that was just a feedback and that's it. And with no apparent reason, the project was rejected.
Well, you have to mention, however, it's not just a feedback. It's not just a feedback. It's not just saying that this project is good and this project is bad. Experts are given marks on every part of the
Right.
application,
Which we
and
don't
there are
see.
points. And the highest points for the grant funding you can get from experts is 36 points. The system is really divided in different zones, I would say. So, so the application is evaluated from different sides, and really, my experience shows it is really difficult to get really low points, and it is really difficult to get really high points. The evaluation system is more or less averaged, and even, for example, if the project is really bad, if there is no hypothesis, there is no nice literature consideration, and etc. But they have, for example, good equipment, they have experience, they have nice publications, they have, I don't know, action plan or whatever. If these parts are good, they're gonna get some marks for these parts. And even though, for example, the main project is not really suitable for the funding. And this is how it works. The same way, for example, if you got a wonderful idea, but you've got no team, no equipment, no idea how you're going to realize that, you're not going to get many points as well. Uh, this is why usually when we see the situation when, for example, foreigners are giving high marks and a local expert gives low marks, uh, these marks are basically averaging. So there are, as far as I remember, 8 sections of evaluation, and for each they're supposed to give. There are different sections from for some of them there is 1 to 9 points. For some of them are 1 to 3 points, and all these points are averaged among all three experts, and the average point is given at the end. Therefore, if normally what happens right now, if foreigners are given really high marks and local gives really low marks, the average point is more or less okay, and you should be able to pass and get to a National Scientific Committee panel to get extra points from National Scientific Committee, because they do give some points as well. If foreigners give really low marks both and local expert gives really high marks, again, they're averaged. And normally the weight of this local expert is much lower, 2 times lower than the weight of the foreigners. And therefore, the system is, let's say, it's supposed to be balanced and more balanced and be more or less independent from, let's say, from our local culture. There are, however, you have to remember, there is a gateway mark which you are supposed to pass, and you must get enough points to get to the National Scientific Committee. As far as I remember, it used to be like 21 points. If your project does not get 21 points from experts, it is not considered on the National Scientific Panel. This was introduced in order to cut off extremely bad projects, because in the past, National Scientific Committee used to give really low marks to projects which they don't like, and give really high marks to projects that they want to pass. For example, it's friends projects or whatever. I remember there was a saying something like, "He's such a wonderful academic, how can I not give him money?" And I think there is even record on YouTube with that, because it was a panel in 2017 when there was a huge argument between young scientists and, let's say, older scientists. And this was the beginning. It was such a arrogant actions. So this is when the really huge changes in science started. And basically right now, national scientific panels are only given 25% of points. So basically, if experts are given 36%, National Scientific Committee is entitled to give only 12. And this is why their weight is still there. They still consider, they give decisions. However, they cannot, let's say, they cannot strongly overcome the decision of experts.
Okay,
And
okay. I have to stop you here and ask a question. Is there some kind of description of the process on maybe the ministry's website where our members can look it up and understand the process? We do appreciate your explanation of the steps, but I think it's something that we have to look in writing and follow those steps, because it's a bureaucracy and it's the same everywhere else.
yes, indeed, everything is on the websites. Considering that this is budget money, this is state budget, therefore all these money are regulated with the state laws. Specifically, these are regulated via the ministry project. The main regulating act is 563 order of the Minister of Higher Education and Science. As far as I remember, it's from 6th of November of 2023. And there are some other acts which are regulating this. There is another order on national scientific panels, and there is another order on how to do expertise of projects. They used to be orders of the whole government. Now their level was decreased down to minister's order, but everything is online. You can look at Adilet system and everything is there. Everything is written there. Additionally, at the end, there are even forms which experts are supposed to complete to evaluate the project. And there are, let's say, tips for them, how they are supposed to evaluate. It's really useful to take a look into these tips and just to understand what experts will be looking for. I would say it's a bit of a cheating. So let's say application shouldn't be great. Application should comply under these tips.
I mean, in a way, it makes sense, right? So there is a certain evaluation criteria, and
so
for
everything is online. Try to search on Adilet. If you can't, well, I'm gonna get the links and I'll share them
that would
right
be
now
great.
in the chat.
That would be great if we get the links from you. So I guess I'm gonna ask some technical or practical questions that are coming in the chat. So can like PhD students or PhD graduates who are currently outside of Kazakhstan apply for these grants? Who don't have an affiliation with Kazakh universities, and if we can't, how do we establish those connections with universities? Do we have to be like full-time faculty at an institution in Kazakhstan to be able to apply for these grants, or can we just be like still be in the UK and be like adjunct faculty, or in collaboration with one of the universities in Kazakhstan, and would that allow us to apply for the grants? And I think the question about the languages was answered already, so we can skip that one.
Okay, that's a quick one. You have to have Kazakhstan affiliation. However, you can apply as a, let's say, as a person, just as a citizen. It's really easy. For that, you have to get a scientific, how it's called? Scientific accreditation from the ministry. Usually, all our research bodies already have this accreditation. If you, as a person, you have to apply. There is a you have to get to the how it's gonna be in English, no idea. You have to get to ЦОН.
You can say it in Russian. That's fine.
Therefore, you have to get to ЦОН. Вам нужно в ЦОН пойти, я не знаю, как ЦОН по-английски будет, и в ЦОНе получить эту услугу по научной аккредитации. Это возможно. There are some requirements for that. You have to have some amount of papers and etc. The procedure changes year to year slightly. Again, you have to you can take a look in the internet on Adilet system where all legal acts are, and this is where you can see like requirements to get the For example, when I applied for this accreditation as a person, I couldn't get that because I didn't have papers in Kazakhstan journals. This is why I was rejected. I laughed. I think something changed since that, but I didn't really take a look at that. There are some papers in Adilet. However, normally everybody applies via research institutions because, let's say, it's some legal roof over your head. Plus there is equipment, expertise, and etc. And let's say normally the weight of your application is slightly higher, and experts evaluating it slightly higher if you apply from some research body.
So if I were to collaborate with Saule, for example, we have a a project that we want to work on, but I am in the US. I'm not affiliated with Narikbayev University, but Saule is, and we can apply on behalf of that, as part of that institution. Would we be able to apply because I'm, member of the team, but I'm not part of the Narikbayev University?
It depends who is going to be the supervisor, who is going to be
Mhm.
PI. If Saule is PI, easy, whatever you like.
Okay.
Yeah. You might
So-
even not be a citizen, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You don't even have to be a citizen.
Okay. So I guess the takeaway from this is that
Another important point is all research must be conducted in Kazakhstan.
okay.
You have to
Yeah.
remember this part. That's
Okay.
it.
That
But
makes sense.
citizenship doesn't really matter. So or even foreigners may apply via, for example, our institutions and can do their research here in Kazakhstan. Please, they're welcome.
Okay.
The main point is this is state money, so they have to bring some use to the state.
Okay.
I have a question here, if I can ask it.
Yeah, go ahead, Aliya.
It's very brief. So what does it mean for the research to be conducted in Kazakhstan?
Well, it depends on the nature of research, but it means basically that all the studies' main work must be conducted in Kazakhstan. For example, if you do something in the lab should be in Kazakhstan. If you buy some equipment for your study, for your research, it must be in Kazakhstan. If you treat patients and, I don't know, develop new cancer treatment, it must be done in Kazakhstan. Some of the work can be conducted somewhere else if you officially declare it in the very beginning, and if you declare it as a collaboration, please, you're welcome. But the main project must be done in Kazakhstan because and this way project should be done for Kazakhstan. That's
Yeah,
simple.
but I feel like it's a very limiting factor in some sense, because there is some equipment, there are some resources that are not available in Kazakhstan. So which means like it clearly cuts the topics, the research that can be done in Kazakhstan, or not in Kazakhstan, I should say, by Kazakhstani researchers.
Well, it depends. For example, if you're saying about some specific types of research equipment, I don't know, for example, synchrotron, yes, Kazakhstan doesn't have a synchrotron, and I suppose we don't have enough research power, research money, and political will to build one. We don't need one. It's too huge and it's too expensive. This way you can go somewhere else. It's okay. However, you have to remember that all your work is not gonna be done on synchrotron. And no project is solely done on synchrotron. I would say only synchrotron scientists have such a luxury to carry all their projects on their facility, because it's not something where you conduct the research. If you have to go somewhere and if you have to apply for study there, and if you're gonna want to get some analysis in there, please, you're welcome. You can put this into your project. The point is the main work. For example, you have to prepare some samples for this synchrotron facility, right? These samples have to be prepared in Kazakhstan. Yeah, data collection and etc. This is for country. It should be done there. I know it's gonna be slightly more difficult, for example, for IT projects, or let's say if you're for humanities, which are not really bound to the place and etc. But usually in these conditions, they have other limitation. This usually means that projects should be related to Kazakhstan. Therefore, I suppose Saule will agree, it's rather difficult to bring something completely external into humanities from Kazakhstan. For example, I'm really not sure that the project related to, I don't know, psychology of school kids of Peru is going to be supported, even though it's a really wonderful project, is going to be supported here.
Yeah, in a way it makes sense. And what I'm hearing, like it's possible to find collaborators in Kazakhstani institutions and submit, applications for grants. But then there is a gray line between, what you define to be, specific to Kazakhstan, relevant to Kazakhstan. And that's something that you have to decide with your collaborator, right? And as part of
Let's say it this way: if you're able to show that everything, that everything in your proposal Kazakhstan needs, and this is a wonderful project, and everything is going to be done in Kazakhstan, please go on.
Okay, Ivan. So,
Sorry.
Saule, please.
Go ahead.
I just a little comment that for economics, I think it's, well, I mean, for applied economics, this is probably not a big deal, because if it's something related to Kazakhstan, like you're collecting data on, or the policy question relates to Kazakhstan, I think that is what they expect.
Yeah. So
I had a really brief question about this.
yeah, James, go ahead.
Yeah, what if the nature of work is purely, if you say working in chemistry or like physics and you're doing purely theoretical or computational thing, which is like by any means not bound to any physical location and doesn't have any like relation to Kazakhstan because physics is physics.
Exactly, that was my question.
Well, I guess the answer is that you can't really. So you have to be based in Kazakhstan, apply for the equipment, and do that research in Kazakhstan, right?
No.
Equipment.
We're not talking about equipment. Just you just need your laptop and pen and paper. Let's say.
This way, you please go on. There are such projects, and they're funded as well. However, they should be done with Kazakhstan affiliation.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying, Ivan, is that again, like find a collaborator at Kazakhstan University, let him submit the application, let him be a PI of the project. But you, as someone affiliated with the US institution, you can still be involved in the project and get some payment for that, right?
Yes, this way, yes.
Okay, Ivan, so I have a academia-specific question for Saule, and while she's answering that question, I'll let you look through the chat, and maybe some of the questions I think can easily be answered in the chat, so please look over some of those research-related questions. But my question for Saule is about, Narikbayev University, and maybe you can answer it for other universities as well. In terms of well, you already answered the question about the payment ranges, but how about the teaching load?
Workload, yeah, I was expecting this question, yeah.
Yeah, how much teaching do we have to do, like if we get employment at your institution, and like what are the other responsibilities of faculty at Narikbayev University?
Yeah, I think I can probably talk only about my university because I think the situation is very different from university to university. We currently have the normal workload is for ECTS, for 20 ECTS points per semester, which is for courses, usually per semester for, say, someone who is not engaged in research at all. So the highest position possible as teaching professor. And then for those colleagues who are engaged in research and their position would start with adjunct assistant professor and so on, it decreases a bit. So for example, for adjunct assistant and assistant professor, this would be 15 credits, ECTS credits of teaching, which is 3 courses per semester, which is not, yeah, I know it's much, but that's what we have at the moment. And then we believe that sort of 5 ECTS credits goes to research. As far as I know, in KEMAP, situation is more or less the same. I don't know about the other universities, but yeah, these two are something like that. As far as I know, in SDU, the workload, teaching load is lower than in our university. And then for example, associate professor, 10 to 10, so 10 CTS credits of teaching to like 2 groups of teaching per semester, 20 per year.
Okay, so it sounds like if I get employment at your institution, then I'm probably teaching full time, because we all know how hard it is to teach.
A lot of teaching, unfortunately, yeah.
Okay.
I would say you would be teaching overtime because full-time is maximum 2 courses.
Well, it depends, like how you define it, right? So it sounds like
Yeah, how you define it, it's yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Courses,
I'm referring
3
to the
courses
US
of 3
system.
groups, yeah. So 3 courses of 3 groups. This might be 1 course, but 3 groups of teaching, like you know, double teaching, yeah.
And
So
how
3
is
courses of 3 groups.
and how is the situation like with teaching assistants? I know it's a common practice here in the United States. Like,
We do
depending-
have, yeah, we do have teaching assistants almost for all professors, especially, you know, when you have bachelor students, you usually have larger groups.
Okay, okay. And how much, I guess, well, I'm going to ask the question because I guess in a way you answered it. The question is about the flexibility. How much flexibility to researchers, or in this case, I guess, lecturers, get in terms of, you know, building their own courses or doing their own research, you know, because sometimes, you know, bureaucracy might kick in and then you have like strict rules. So what is the situation at your institution? How much flexibility do employees have in terms of implementing their own projects, their own classes, and so on?
Oh, I think it's sort of 2 different stories, research and teaching, because in terms of research, it's a full flexibility. So you basically do what you want. But for teaching, not much, to be honest. And this is because we do have already curricula set. You know, of course, we're happy if you suggest something to improve the curricula, like you want to introduce your own course, which fits what we sort of do in general. But we usually search for those instructors who can teach specific subjects that we have. And we have, you know, a huge shortage of for certain subjects, especially like, you know, business management, finance. It's everywhere in Kazakhstan, especially. It's really very difficult to find someone with PhD from abroad for these 2 areas. So we usually, it's not a lot of flexibility, especially if for, you know, in business school, like at our business school, some of the courses are the part of affiliation or accreditation, like for example, CFA accreditation, and then you have probably strictly, more or less strictly follow what they expect you to do in line with this accreditation. So it's not much flexibility.
Okay.
And I have a question regarding this. For example, let's say, I mean, in Kazakhstan, as far as I remember, we have like part-time, half-time, and then full-time, like, you know, четвертушка, полставки, полная ставка, полтора ставка. So is this being monitored? I know that some professors, they work in multiple universities within Kazakhstan, and then I guess it should be monitored. But what if someone works in other country and then they also want to take some responsibility of teaching or doing some work in Kazakhstan university? So do they calculate also their, for example, their own country time of their work?
Really, I don't know about the public universities, if they are obliged to do so, if they do so or not. But at private universities, I think we sort of don't care. Even if you work in industry, you know, we do have around 40% of our, because we're a business school, you know, and around 40% of our instructors, tutors are those who actually, they work in industry, yeah, various companies. And they just come to teach 1 course per semester usually, or something like that. And we don't really care what they do. So we only care about the workload at the university. That's the point. And even if they combine with teaching somewhere else, probably, to be honest, I even don't know. So we don't really, well, I'm not sure if this information would be, so I mean, I'm not sure about the reaction of the university management, but I would probably don't really much care about that too.
Okay, sounds like if you want to, teach courses at 3 different universities in Astana, technically,
I don't think it's possible. You know,
do
the teaching load at the universities in Astana, so I don't think it's physically possible. But if you teach something, for example, I don't know, online, because or sort of, some of our colleagues do sort of training for example, for the same CFA courses, they do provide training. It's fine.
Okay, so
And
speaking of online courses, so most or like all of our KAPNA members are based here in the United States, so we can't really teach in person in Kazakhstan. But is there an opportunity for our members to be involved in teaching some of the classes, or developing some of the curricula, and how does that work?
Yeah, at our university, yes. The answer is yes. Well, I mean, since the pandemic, I think we all are okay with online teaching or some sort of online teaching, or having some online courses incorporated into curricula. And we do have our colleagues who work from abroad. But I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure about the other universities. Maybe at public universities, this is no more the case.
Okay, the practical questions. How do people who are interested in teaching at Narikbayev University reach, an appropriate person? How do we take it further? How do we make it an actionable? So should they contact
drop
you,
me an email.
someone else?
Yeah, I'm leaving my email on chat, so just drop me an email with your, I don't know, CV and
CV.
what you want or would like to teach. And so you should also notice understand that there is a huge difference in time. Yeah, so I think 12 hours or something. So this might be a bit like challenging, but we do have colleagues teaching from Canada. So I think, and working full time in Canada. So maybe this works.
Okay.
For you.
And
yeah.
I guess that's also where we get to the tricky point of, how much compensation our, KAPNA members can be, hoping for if they, send you this request to teach at Narikbayev University.
This is very individual. So I think that's the case for all private universities. The range that I mentioned on chart, it's like sort of, something official, but this might be very, very much different. So it depends. It depends on how much we need you. For example, if you're really very, you can teach courses that we're very much lacking. We're happy to negotiate that too.
Okay, that's great. So I'll follow up with one more question for you, Saule. And I was going to ask this question to Laura as well, but since she's not here, so it would only be you probably who's going to answer this question. So did the lack of research opportunities in Kazakhstan, and by research opportunities, I mean funding, equipment, expertise, all that related stuff to research, did that influence your decision to take on leadership role? Because we know that, being a leader, at an organization takes up a lot of your time. And it also sounds like you are required to teach a lot of courses. And unfortunately, we don't have limited time or resources, right? So you have to prioritize some things. But sometimes we think that, people take on these leadership roles because there are just not enough research opportunities in the field. But you want to do something, you want to earn money, right? So you take on those leadership roles. Was that the case for you? Was it the factor that you considered, or generally, is it the factor that people consider as they move on into the leadership ladder?
I guess yes. For me, yeah, it was definitely a reason, because at some point I just realized that probably I can much more contribute to society overall. I don't know, economics and business education in Kazakhstan by being in this administrative role, rather than do my, research, publishing a paper in 2 years or something, which I still try to do, but not really successful, to be honest. But I think, the returns, the the economy of scale of this is much, much higher, obviously. And especially given, overall quality of education in a country, which I really care about. I think we do a great job, at least at our university, at least for some subjects, teaching these, young people who deserve good quality education. And especially, for example, some other universities, so we have a lot of, difficulties with funding. So for example, grant funding, the scholarship, which is given to those students who passed EN test successfully and got the scholarship, is really poor. At least for our universities, 3 times as low as the tuition fee that other students pay. But still, we allow them in, all of them. Despite every year we have to, we have this very difficult conversation with the university management, because they're obviously unhappy to have. So for example, now we have around 25% of students funded by the government, scholarship funded. While, for example, at some other universities, let me not name them, they do not allow them at all, just because it's not economically efficient for them. So I think we do indeed do a contribution, at least in this, the professional area where we work. And for me, it was a motivation indeed, and it's still a motivation, at least now, for now.
Okay, what I'm hearing is that you felt like, instead of, I guess, 5 other researchers or colleagues reading your published, journal article, you felt like you'd get a bigger impact by teaching 100 students.
Probably, yeah. From societal point of view, yes. I think it's for me, it's a reason. But still, you can, you can implement research into your teaching too. Well, at least for the subjects where we do our subject, like in economics, this is something that you definitely can do. I don't know about the rest. And what we also noticed that since I'm at this position since 2020, and over these 4 years, the number of researchers increased substantially at my school. And this is, I think, my personal KPI. And because many people just came because they know me and the stuff. But what we all notice now, that we have this interest in research among our students too. That was something completely lacking 3-5 years ago. But now we have more and more bachelor students who are interested in the research career, doing research in general, understanding what research is, not only in academia, but also because you can basically do that by working in industry too. In Kazakhstan, I think now maybe it is even better and more attractive to do research career in industry, well, at least in economics and business, but not in academia. So I think it's something that, you said only 5 people will be reading your research. Yeah, probably yes, but you can talk about your research much more if you have, like I have around 200 students each semester. And of course, I'm not sure if I can indoctrinate each of them, but at least, some of them become interested in that. And I think it's good. For me, yeah. It's a part of motivation too.
Yeah, and that's great. And you brought up the, part of mentoring future generation of research. And I think, a lot of, PhD students and PhD graduates are, interested in this, and they kind of, driven by that mentoring idea. And again, practical question for the members of KAPNA. Can we, and if we can, how can we be involved in mentoring Kazakhstani researchers or, young researchers, students? I know some of our members sit on like PhD or master's level thesis committees as like outside experts? Is it a possibility for students in your organization, and how we can be involved basically in mentoring?
Absolutely, yes. So if you're interested in mentoring someone, but you should notice that we have, very specific and limited area, and this is mostly business, economics, social sciences, and no more than that. So yeah, just drop me an email, and yeah, we will definitely do that, because we have this mentorship scheme within the university where we have mentors to us. So if students are interested in someone to have a mentor among professors, we're happy to link them. We're trying to link them, and this works. So if you want to do that, yeah, that's very good. So just drop me an email.
Do you have to have a PhD to be a mentor, or like, or can?
No, not
Yeah.
necessarily, no. If
Okay.
you have something to share, knowledge, just maybe some understanding, or I don't know, anything to share. I'm sure that you all do have something to share with at least, young students who are interested in doing research career, especially, in America. America is still the most attractive destination for them. So yeah, if you want to do that.
Great, thank you, Saule,
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank you
interesting
for your
response.
question and initiative too, Aliya.
So I know we're over time, so maybe last couple of questions for Saule and Ivan from the audience. I do have a few more questions, but I know Ivan has been answering questions in the chat. Thank you for that. But if anyone in the audience has questions, either for Saule or Ivan, I'm happy to open the floor.
Just a quick notice, I dropped the links in the chat. So there are 3 links on the legal acts. Take a look at them. Plus, there are 2 websites with the information related to the state funding. The first one is ncste.kz, is basically the main site of National Center for Science and Technology Evaluation. This is the center which basically does the application project process. The point is, scientific committee of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education basically gives an order to carry a competition, and NCSTE carries this competition for scientific committee. You have to know that though this center is carrying the competition, it does not decide anything. So all the decisions are made outside this center.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing those links and explaining. I'm pretty sure it's still a little fuzzy in the minds of our members, but the links will be helpful as we do
And
more.
one little comment, additional comment. There was one important question, the really last one. What are the requirements for papers? And it can be it could be really tricky for PhDs, for fresh PhDs. Indeed, it could be tricky. However, this arises from the necessity to cut off, let's say, pseudoscientists from the field, because we have many of those in Kazakhstan, especially those who invent, I don't know, boxes with the buttons on them, and these boxes are supposed to change the weather on the whole planet. We have such cases. I'm not joking, really. And such requirements are basically cutting them off. And there are some certain how to say, competitions specifically only for young researchers. It is Jaz Ghalam. Personally, I don't really like it because requirements are quite stupid, and it's developing as well. Additionally, there was a grant funding for young researchers where only young researchers could apply for the same funding. Personally, I won such projects 3 years ago, and like just 2 months ago, I finally completed it and done all the paperwork, published some nice papers, and it could be done. And it was only for, yes, indeed, El Nino in a box. You're right. And crazy people are here as well. And in this country, unfortunately, due to lack of researchers, these crazy people are considered scientists as well.
Well, the world is crazy, and crazy people are everywhere, not only in Kazakhstan, but I guess it makes sense. Is this, if standards are lower, then you get more of those crazy people. Anyway, so do we have any more questions from the audience?
I just wanted to thank you, Aniar, for moderating this session, and Saule and Ivan for answering all our questions. Was very nice meeting you and very informative.
Yes, and we look forward to collaborating. So you have our contacts. As we're trying to grow our membership. Not everyone is truly active, but we know that researchers are busy. But we wanted to create this community to unite researchers from Kazakhstan who are here in North America. And we know there are similar organizations now, like in Europe and in some other countries as well. So the future is bright, but it's not here yet. So we look forward to meeting you in person. So I and Aliya will be traveling to Kazakhstan late May, like early June. So if either Saule or Ivan want to meet, we will be happy to discuss any potential collaborations or just to meet people in person, because it's good that we have the technologies now to connect via Zoom, but in person is always better, right? So I see that iGame has raised her hand, so probably the last question before we close out this panel session.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank you guys for organizing such an event, if we can call it like that. And I am from the UK. I'm a PhD student from the University of Glasgow. And just wanted to ask Ivan about our organization in the UK. What's going on there? What is the plan here? What is being done? Because I also want to be in this stream. I also would like this kind of events to happen in the UK as well. So just wanted to ask.
Well, the little issue is that most of the actors have moved to Kazakhstan, and
Yeah.
the students in UK wasn't really active, I would say. If you want to help, if you want to participate, if you are happy to organize anything, please feel free. Where we are happy to support you and help you and etc. As you know, we have a web page on the Facebook. Probably you're already there. From the last events in November, we had a forum on AI application in science and education, in government planning and etc., where we invited some experts. And in case if you're keen on finding out what was there, you can take a look on the YouTube. There are all the records there. So feel free. Also, I think there are even links on the web page where you can on the Facebook, so you can find it. These are the most recent ones. And in the past, although we also used to conduct some of the events like this, and as well, there are some records on YouTube as well. As far as I remember, the couple of lectures were given by Saule in there. Thank you so much, Saule. Hopefully, we should continue this. But again, it really depends on people, on members. If you'd like something, if you want something, just let us know. We will be happy to organize something for you. If you want some particular lectures or seminars on anything, just drop us an idea and we will organize something. By the way, relatively recently, when was it? Maybe like 4 weeks ago, we had a meeting with Hungary Society, and as well we've been inviting people from our society there. It was in the WhatsApp chat. We've been conducting something similar to today's meeting. I was speaking about research system in Kazakhstan.
Okay.
So this is what we had.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Just
Yeah.
to-
Now,
Just to add to the what James was saying in the group, there is a KESA now as a similar association, but for Europeans in across different countries. So they are organizing every this kind of events every like 2 weeks or so. I don't know if you are aware of that. So maybe you can join them or their committee, organizing committee, or just events.
Yeah,
I'm aware.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they're aware of the Brexit. So, but I don't think they
Yeah, I
care.
just wanted to say, okay, it's not
Yeah.
it's not Europe anymore. Yeah.
I
Can
mean,
I have
there are no
like a
boundaries
final-
for scientists from Kazakhstan. Yeah, go ahead, Saule.
Yeah, just one final question. I thought that maybe it's a bit early to talk about that, but do we have do you have economists there, people doing PhD in economics?
Yeah, we do have people who are doing PhDs in economics, and graduates as well. So I'm personally, researching health economic, health policy. So please reach out if you need expertise and want to be connected.
Yeah,
soon
so because
we have a website with all the fields represented. So happy
I
to
think I will reach out with this soon. Well, maybe not that soon, but we have in mind one project. We just discussed that recently with one colleague from SDU. Maybe you know him, Borjan Yevgenov, because he also used to work in.
Oh yeah. I personally know Borjan. Yeah.
Yeah, so he returned recently. We saw each other a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed that we might we will try to organize since the next academic year, sort of, online, free of charge teaching for, everyone in Kazakhstan, students in Kazakhstan, for a very specific and limited courses in economics, very narrow field of expertise. Like, for example, I can teach education economics or labor economics, but definitely I don't have enough students here at my university, and even at 2 our universities probably too. So we decided that maybe we can do that, like, for general society. There is an organization called CRGI, funded by the US, by the way, and they do such sort of thing, like teaching economics for post-communist countries. They do that great. But I think we can do that too. If you're happy to join, so probably during the summer, we will try to shape this project, and we will invite everyone. If you have those who do economics, we will be very happy if you can join us too.
Yes, please send us an email, and we'll pass it on to people with expertise in economics, and as a KAPNA organizing committee, we have ideas of establishing some summer schools in the future. So probably we can collaborate on that.
Yeah, that's probably lines up with. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much again. Have a nice day.
By the way, couple of extra links. Here are links for our unofficial chat in WhatsApp. If you'd like to join, it's chat for just regular conversations. If you want to discuss anything and etc. There is a chat for those who are in Almaty. If you want to meet with people and etc. There is a chat for those who are in Astana as well. If you want to gather up and do some activities.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Saule and Ivan. It was a pleasure to meet you over Zoom, and thank you for answering all of our questions. It was a pleasure, and thank you for joining to those who did that today. Have a good weekend.
Yeah. Bye. Have a nice.
You too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.